It's so good to see everybody out today. That's great. That is just great. I'm Dana DeWitt, was Dana Stone, and I'm just really happy that we can do this together. Happy that Nelson's here. And I'm going to introduce you, but I just wanted to thank everybody for all the pictures and the things, the memorabilia, and the stories. We've heard such good stories. Some of them I'm not allowed to repeat, but they're really good stories. But the community center up here, you know, when the school closed, I thought it's going to just fall in. But it's been the complete opposite. It's just wonderful. The people that work over here, and I mean, they really work. But it's such a good community feel. And we know people. When the school closed, I thought, I don't really know anybody up here now. But now we do. So there's lots going on during the week. And then the festivals we had, I think, maybe 1,500 at the Fall Festival this year. So that's really, really a great thing. But it's been fun putting all the things in the room over there and getting it ready. And I have to tell you, the person that got me really interested in this was Nelson, because we worked on, well, a lot of us worked on this book together. And I've known Nelson, Rodney and I've known Nelson for a long time now. When he was still in seminary, he was our pastor at Mount Olivet out at the county line. And I'll never forget that first day when he came. He didn't know exactly where the church was. And we watched this yellow car go. and then it pulled in, and he had the best sermon. It was just great. And oh yeah, it was. It really was. It could be that most of our pastors' average age was 85, and you were. But it was good, and you got that little church going. You got our history going, and he had his girlfriend with him when he was up here. Now they've been married how many years?
36.
36 years, 3 boys, grandsons. So, and he's really an interesting speaker. So thank you so much for coming out. And Nelson, I'll let you get started.
Well, thank you, Dana, for the introduction. My wife is keeping a 1 and a 3-year-old right now, or else she'd have been with me. We keep 2 of our grandchildren on Sunday afternoons, and she asked me, she says, "Well, how many folks do you think will be up there?" And I said, "Well, you know, the NFL is on now, and it's windy, and so you have like quadrupled the amount of folks that I thought would be here to hear me." So what a great turnout, which really is an expression of your care and value of the history of our area. Just briefly, and then I'll get into the visuals. I live at the foot of Bent Mountain. I live on Martins Creek Road, and about a mile off the highway. And my wife and I, some years ago, had the opportunity to buy my grandparents' farmhouse, which the original part of is log cabin. It was actually built by my great-great-grandfather. So we have some exposed logs in the house, and every morning when I'm having coffee and eating breakfast, I look at those logs, and you can still see the cut marks and all of that. And so it's a very special place for me, and to be able to truly physically live in the house, the cabin that my great-great-grandparents bought. And so much of the folks that lived up in the Pogue Valley area, I'm a descendant of, so the Pogues themselves, the Harris family, the Martins, and on and on and on. So I came at this history with a deeply personal interest, in addition to just being a history buff anyway. The book, the cover of which you see, came out in 2018, and it truly does not seem like it's been a little over 7 years ago that that book came out. And I see Jenny Henderson and, of course, Dana. We had a group of folks of probably, about 8 or 10 of us that we met at the Back Creek fire station in the community room probably once a month, once every 6 weeks for a couple of years, and accumulated photographs and stories and things of that nature that ultimately wound up in the book. And it was really one of the best experiences I've ever had doing a history book, and I've done several on local history, because it was a wonderful group of people that we had to collaborate with. Sadly, many of them are no longer with us, and which makes me even more grateful for the opportunity to have gotten that group together and worked on this project. So the book, A History of Back Creek, subtitled Bent Mountain, Poages Mill, Cave Spring, and Starkey, is a little bit of what I'm gonna cover. This is actually, if you were here like 7 years ago, you know, this will be a little bit repetitive for you because I came and did it at that time when the book had just come out. But with each photograph, I like to tell a little bit of a backstory, and I won't go into every photograph that we're going to look at. But the reason that I did Bent Mountain, Poages Mill, Cave Spring, and Starkey is because historically those areas are so interconnected. They're so interconnected in terms of their history and their economy and families and all of that kind of thing. One of the things that I really became interested in, the group that I worked with knew a lot of history from the 20th century, from 1920s and 30s kind of forward, and then I tried to research much of the history prior to that. And it was really fascinating for me to find the history going all the way back to right after the Civil War, when the orchards first got started out here at the foot of Bent Mountain and on Bent Mountain. And that was a real risk, and a lot of people didn't quite get it, why people were getting into orchards. For the simple reason that, for those of you that grow apples, you know that when you plant an apple tree, it's usually about 7 or 8 years before you get a harvest. And so that meant that there was a period of time that you went when you weren't making any money. And so after then the orchards came into fruition, pun intended, they made a tremendous amount of profit and contributed to the economy such that, and all of this is in the book, such that buyers from New York would come to the Roanoke Valley and would develop contracts and relationships with the orchardists here in the Bent Mountain area to have their apples shipped up to New York. And then it even went past that, where European buyers were then coming to the Bent Mountain area and establishing relationships and contracts for the apples here in this section of the state to then be sent overseas. And so it was just a fascinating kind of dive into that period of history and how the orchards got started and how much they contributed to the economy. So with that said, let me kind of get into what we're going to do here for a few minutes, and then we're going to look forward to dedicating the history room. And let me just say this, as a guy who really likes local history, for all of you that have participated in what we're going to cut the ribbon on and dedicate today, thank you. Because without folks like you, without folks providing leadership like Dana to efforts like that, so much would be forgotten, so much would be lost, and so kudos to you all for all that you've done to make the history room up here happen. All right, so just real quick about the cover. The publisher said we need one really good photograph and one really good piece of art. That was just kind of their thing. And so the top photograph is a picture of a Martin couple, and the guy who gave me that photograph, because obviously they're dressed, well dressed, he thinks that they are either going to or coming from a funeral. And the reason he says a funeral is if you look at how the lady is dressed there on the left in complete black garb and black veil. And then the bottom piece of art is from Harriet French Turner, who was a prominent folk artist here in the Roanoke area. And Hollins University actually has that original photograph, and that farmhouse is still standing. It is below Laurel Ridge Primitive Baptist Church, if you're familiar with that area, kind of back of Cave Spring. All right. Now let me turn the clicker on. That would help. That would help. All right, hold on. All right. When all else fails, you use right. There we go. I put this in because it is a map of Benton Mountain in 1864. And the interesting thing about this map, and I apologize for the little light spot there, that's because it's under glass at my house, and so that was the glare that came off the photograph. But the Commonwealth of Virginia in 1864 commissioned a series of county maps to be done, to be used during the Civil War, so that way troop movements could be better navigated and officers would know where certain things were at. So this is really a motherlode of information about counties and about certain areas. So this is Benton Mountain. I realize you can't read this from where you're seated. But the red is the road at that time that came up the mountain and then headed back towards Floyd County. And right here it says Bent Plantation, which is generally believed to be the Lewis plantation and home. And so Bent Plantation. And then it has a number of names of folks who had farms in the area. And it marks schoolhouse, so here's one that says schoolhouse and sawmills and grist mills. And over in the Bottom Creek area, where the Craigheads are from, they spelled it phonetically, and so Craighead was spelled C-R-A-G-G-E-D. So whoever said it, that's how they spelled it. But anyway, just kind of wanted to show that map. Here's a great image of where we're at, obviously, Benton Mountain School, 1959. This is actually an image that is with the Virginia State Library. And I wish I had known about this image. I would have put it in the book at the time that I was doing it. But anyway, did not know. But I love this image because it shows the old school and the quote-unquote new school, and of course kids on the playground. And there were a number of these images shown of schools. There was a project done by the State Department of Education to go around and photograph all the schools in certain counties. And so here's Benton Mountain School in 1959. One of the great things that I got from people that I worked with were these type images, which showed the old log one-room schoolhouses back in the day. So here is the original Heron School, circa 1880, that sat across the road from where Martins Creek Road and 221 intersect. So it sat right in there, across from, if you all remember Marvin Reed, Fats Reed, across the road from his store is where the Heron School was. And I love these images because we have one teacher with, I don't know how many kids are in that image. I would say 20 or 25 children, and of course they range all grade levels, all ages, and so you can imagine what that would be like. Here's the Back Creek School, which sits down the school on Landmark Circle, right off 221, and so there are a number of images of that school. Here's another image of Heron School in 1917. I have some relatives in these pictures. That's where I got some. And then here's the Back Creek School in the 1930s. I realize many of you went to school, high school, up here. But for folks in the Heron and Pogues Mill section and whatnot, this was the high school.
And the building on the left is still standing. The building on the right, just the foundation. Here's the Roland Ferguson School in 1894. And Jenny, I think you gave me this image. I think that came from you. Hayron Baptist Church in 1963. The original structure in 1924. Here's a family burial in the 1910s. And this is actually a mountain burial. It's in the cemetery that is back of my house. And a couple of my great-grandfathers are in the image. I always tell my kids, we'll take them up to the cemetery, my grandkids, and anyway, the Simpsons didn't have a whole lot of money, and so we didn't have headstones. We just had the field stones. So they'll get up there in the woods, and of course it's all woodsy now and whatnot, and they'll go, this isn't a cemetery, this is just a bunch of rocks. I said, well, no. They're used to evergreen and Sherwood and looking at stuff like that. But I said, no, back in the day, sometimes you didn't do that. This is actually the home that I live in at the foot of that mountain. And I loved it when people would bring in old family home places, pictures like that. Here's Cave Spring Baptist Church in 1903. There's another image of the Back Creek School in 1917. Here's the Poages store in 1910, and it's now a house, and the gentleman that lives there is very proud of the fact that he, lives in what used to be the store, and the store was very close to the actual Pogue mill. But I love this image. In fact, this is the one I had recommended for the cover of the book because there's so much going on here. You got the store, you got an early automobile, and then you got horse and buggy. So you got all kinds of things working in this image, which I always think for an archival image just makes it really fascinating, kind of visually, to look at. A lot of you remember Marvin Thatch Reed, and this is him behind the counter at a store in 1957, right at the foot of Benton Mountain. Ryerson's Grocery in the 1970s along 221, close to where Back Creek Elementary School is. Pogues Mill Service Station doesn't look that way today. Don't go there for gas today, all right? And here's just another family kind of image of folks that live near the slope of Benton Mountain, and again, date 1910. Molly Pogue home, 1919. Here's the Pogue farm as you all know, on 221 in 1939. There's the little service station there. And the Pogues who gave me that photograph to use said that the Stone gas station was built at the time that the Blue Ridge Parkway was coming through. And that the stonemason, that did the bridge work and whatnot, they retained his services to do the stone building there. Just a quick word on the Pogue farmhouse. I understand you all have a log from the Pogue farmhouse that is in the history room. I got some logs, and David Pogue got some logs, and so I took my logs and I had built a little 12 by 12 log cabin on my property. And that's a grandchildren's bunkhouse. So if any of you all want to come and you have a hankering to sleep in bunk beds, you let me know. We'll have you come down. But it's very special to me in that I hated what happened, but the original cabin of the Pogue home was built by John Pogue in 1833. So the bench that you have in the history room, that came from an 1833 cabin. And if you do a little math and count the rings, it means the log that you've got for the bench predates, is older than the country itself. Right? Because it probably came from a 70 or 80-year-old tree, which would have put it back as a tree earlier than 1776. Now, what was special for me in getting some of the logs is John Poe was my fourth great-grandfather. So that was kind of special for me to be able to have at least some of that from this cabin. Up on the hill there, you see the fence. That's the Poe Cemetery. So, First Mormon Chapel at Back Creek, circa 1900. And Jenny, where was that? Do you remember?
Yes, it was up, let's see, off of, where the Ferguson home place is, off of Canyon Road.
Yes.
Up in that area.
Okay, Canyon Road area. Okay. Back Creek Elementary School, 53. Back Creek School is, I often remembered it coming and going on 221. Again, I got love images like this. So here we have Wheeler and Bessie Beckner at their home in 1915. And obviously he wanted to get the coon dogs in the picture. You gotta have the coon dogs in the picture. So not good enough for just he and Bessie to be out there, but I think there's 4 hound dog faces in that picture. They all looking good. They're all looking good. Including the couple. Including the couple. Oh, somebody's looking at the window. That's right. Yeah, if you look up there on the left. He was not going to miss that opportunity. We'll just guess maybe they didn't get their picture taken often. Right? So we'll take full advantage of the photography. Home on Cotton Hill Road, 1920. Here's a great little image. Lucy Poe making apple butter in her home over the hearth in 1952. Kittinger Chapel in the 1920s is a Lutheran church, but many denominations met there. It was on Landmark Circle as well. It's no longer standing. It was raised many years ago. Here's Bell's Store and Telephone Exchange in 1910, and this home is still there. It too is on Landmark Circle. And just a word about the Orchardists here at this point. The Orchardists were the ones that initiated phone service. And so, in fact, it was called the Fruit Growers Telephone Exchange. And so they were the ones that originally got the phone service out into this section of Roanoke County. And, of course, then there was the Bent Mountain Telephone Exchange and all of that. But that's where the telephone exchange was housed for many years, at Bell's Store. Here's Holt's Store on Route 221. And that's your mom, right?
That's
Dana, in the road there. I think, Dana, you gave me this picture, right?
I did. I have one in the there too.
Here's Mr. Holt and his store in Bent Mountain, on Bent Mountain in the 1930s. I love images like this. Old store, again, 1940.
The house is still there, Nelson.
Yeah.
I think it's been condemned, but
Okay.
it says you turn to go to Callaway.
Yeah. In case y'all didn't hear that, the house is still standing, not in good shape, but there on the road there at the intersection where you head over to Callaway. Not all of it back. You knew I had to put this in here. This is where it all started. Where my career got launched. I don't know what it was about marble playing up here on Bent Mountain, but marble tournaments were huge in the 40s and 50s. I've done a couple books. One is on the 1940s and one on the 1950s. I'm not making this up. But the marble tournament, the city-county marble tournament, was front page news. It was just front page news. And so Bent Mountain had, I don't know how many champions, like during the 40s and 50s, but I don't know what was going on up here with the whole marble scene, but it was happening up here on Bent Mountain. So anyway, I wanted to include a little shot of marble players there in 45.
We had 3 world-class marble courts out there in the corner.
Is that what it was? Did y'all hear him? He said up here on Bent Mountain, you had 3 world-class marble courts.
Clay courts.
Clay courts.
Yeah, one dirt and gravel, that's was smooth.
Right.
Made professional type of courts for the marble shooters.
Wow.
We had champions, as you said. I think one of the boys went to New Jersey for national.
They did. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, like I said, y'all had it going on up here then. Everybody else was on gravel and driveway. Y'all had, Jenny?
Nelson, I can remember when I was a child, and Uncle Oakland King had a store down on Bottom Creek.
Yeah.
Hilton was his youngest son, and he would play marbles there in the middle of the road. And if a car came by, to heck with it, the marble game went on. And he became a real champion.
Yeah. Well, glad he had his priorities straight. Exactly right. I got the clicker to work. I was turning on and off the wrong button. Here is Reed's store in 1942. And looking very different than it did in later iterations.
And that was Fast Foods.
Then he added on to it after the war. So
They're still
49.
adding too.
They're still adding. That's exactly right. Still adding. I remember going in it when it was a country store. Here's Bellevue Primitive Baptist Church in 1965. Again, this is just another great image of somebody brought in Hezekiah Lavender and family at their home in 1910. Hezekiah Lavender was a school teacher, as well as many other things, and he kept a little journal. And so anyway, he wrote in there that one particular year he had 45 students in his one-room schoolhouse. Can you imagine? And they all got educated and all did well and came out to be. Then we got a little bit into baseball history. So here's Ralph Henry. Ralph, by the way, was one of the guys that was part of our group. He's no longer with us. He passed away a few years ago. And but Vanell's is on the front of the shirt because that was the country store that sponsored the team. And we have a little bit in there about where the baseball diamonds were and the various teams and all over the years. There's the Back Creek baseball team uniform in the 50s, and see, Fats Reed was the sponsor of the team that year. That uniform's at the Salem Museum. Here's Copper Hill Church of the Brethren, circa 1900. Again, I just really love images like this. Yeah. 1943. Here's a Brethren baptism in Back Creek in 1921. It's in the book. I can't remember who it is that's getting baptized there. But these images like this and some of the others that we've seen, I mean, the thrill for me in doing local history is these are not images that one would normally run across at the state library or in the archives or at Historical Society. These are out of shoeboxes, right? These are out of scrapbooks that people have at their house. And that's always where you get, I think, the most interesting visuals for these kind of projects. It's another image, Cave Spring Baptist Church in 1910. Cave Spring Baptist Church, that church sat up on the hill where the Cave Spring Lions Club building is today. That kind of orients you a little bit. when Cave Spring Baptist Church moved across the highway to where they are now, the Lions Club bought the church building, and they had a big sign, electric sign that said Cave Spring Lions Club, and lightning struck it and short-circuited the electrical wiring in the building. The building caught fire, so it burned. Starkey Speedway, so we're going to throw a little Starkey in here. Starkey Speedway in the 1950s. I don't know if any of you get the Roanoke magazine, but in the Roanoke magazine I write a little history column every issue. And so an issue or two ago I did a thing on NASCAR at Starkey. There were actually 4 NASCAR sanctioned races, cup races at Starkey back in the late 50s and early 60s. And the big timers, Richard Petty, folks like that ran, competed at Starkey.
Where was that racetrack located?
If you're familiar with Starkey, if you know where Plastics 1 is over there, and so there's athletic fields behind Plastics 1, and that's where the racetrack was. Yeah. Here's an image of the actual Pogue Mill in 1929. I asked some of the folks that were in our group with Jenny and Dana and I what happened, and 2 or 3 folks said that they somewhat remember that in the 30s there was a flood and it ultimately took the mill down and down the creek. If you go to where the mill stood today, not that any of you will, but if you go, there are actually still iron stakes in rock there that anchored the mill. So
Where was that?
if you remember the Pogue store that I showed you, that's still a residence today. It's just down the hill from Pogue's Mill Brethren Church. The store, you can see the roof of it, of the house. It was basically a little bit south there along the creek. Roanoke Lookout, Mountain Crafts, Souvenirs, and Gifts. That's a postcard from the 1950s. Of course, it's now a house, right?
Right.
It's there.
I was going to tell you that one of our principals, he's old there, and he passed away a couple of weeks ago, Frank Stone. He was
Oh.
my principal when I was in the first grade.
Okay.
But he had that.
He had that. Wow.
It was in his funeral. They talked about it.
Talked about Roanoke Lookout. Another little image of the speedway over at Starkey. Speedways today are a little bit more sophisticated than what we're looking at today. Here's the Woodrum Orchard in 1911. Again, just love images like this. The Woodrum Orchard, Jordan Woodrum was one of the pioneer orchardists here in the Benton Mountain area. And in fact, his home is within sight of where we're meeting. And the Woodrum Orchard consisted of thousands of acres of orchard. And so it was both up here on the crest of Benton Mountain, and it was also along the slope and the base of Benton Mountain. When you look at the orchard holdings that Jordan Woodrum had, and yes, Jordan Woodrum was ancestor of Congressman Clifton Woodrum, for whom Woodrum Airport was named. I get asked that question every once in a while. Was he part of the Woodrum family? Yes. I think this is another image from the Woodrum Orchard, again on Benton Mountain, 1911. Here we are erecting telephone poles in 1910, and you can see on the left next to the tree there the telephone pole going up. It's in the Benton Mountain Pogue Mill area, but specifically where this image was made, I do not know. Here we have an aerial view of the Back Creek Orchard Company at the base of Benton Mountain. And you can see a little bit of the orchard there on the slope. And Jenny, you want to say a little bit about the building there, this building in particular?
It's still standing.
Still standing.
We use it mostly for storage, and the barn's still standing, and the house is still standing. The house is empty, nobody lives there.
And you told me, and I forget, Jenny, the various levels. What happened on the top level, the middle level, and the bottom level in the orchard company?
The bottom level was cold storage, that's where they kept the apples.
All right, bottom level, I'll repeat just for those of you who may not hear. Bottom level was cold storage where they kept the apples.
The first floor, you could go in from the back or from either end.
Okay.
And that's where they brought the apples in and they graded them and sized them and which ones would go into cider and which ones would be placed in either crates or boxes and
Okay.
kept for the winter. And then the third floor was where the apple pickers spent the night.
All right.
They would come, early Monday morning from Franklin County, Florida, different places, and they would stay there a week and then go home. But they would spend the night.
All right, so the third floor then was kind of like a dorm for the apple pickers during the week. Second floor, or the middle floor, was where the apples were graded. And then the bottom was where the apples were stored, cold storage. And one of the things that's in the book was that during World War II, we had two prisoner of war camps, German prisoner of war camps here in the Roanoke area. One was at the Catawba section, one was at Salem. And because there was obviously a manpower shortage, and I mean that literally, during World War II, that the German POWs were put to use in helping the orchardists out. And so a couple of folks remember, they were kids, of course, at the time, of seeing the German POWs, come out to the Back Creek area and work in the orchards and all of that kind of thing. And there were some rules in play. You couldn't talk, couldn't have a conversation. And they were paid a little something based on, rules and treaties and that kind of thing. But that was a little bit of interesting element about the orchard history during World War II. Yeah, Jenny?
And one other thing.
Yes.
The shiny roof that you see there above the main house.
Yep.
That was called the cookhouse. And we had.
It's the cookhouse?
That's the cookhouse.
All right.
Miss Likens, we call her Grandma Likens, did the cooking with some of her family. And one of her daughters told me that every morning she would clean a gallon bucket, or a 5-gallon bucket, of pinto beans. And that's what they had every night for dinner, pinto beans and cornbread. And then she would make big hoe cakes for breakfast. And she would line food on and they would feed sometimes as many as 40 people.
Wow.
And men would be lined up, ready to eat for every meal.
Wow. Interesting. Yes, sir.
Where's that located down back?
Jenny, this structure here, location of it today, where?
Well, back to Orchard Road, where you turn, coming down the mountain, right after you pass the 3 lanes, the end of that, there's a turn that goes back into that property, and it's near the end of that road.
Does that help? All right. It's good to have people in the room who know what they're talking about, I'm telling you right now.
There you go.
There's been Mountain Elementary School in the 1950s. This is a pretty school. It really is. Here's Dr. Tinsley on his horse, 1900. I had the privilege to know his daughter, Sue Tinsley Angle, when I was minister at Mount Olivet Baptist Church 37 years ago now. But he made his rounds back in the day on horseback. That's great. I think y'all got that in the history room, don't you? I think I saw that. Yeah. Great image. Here's the Reed family in a Metz car on Beck Mountain in 1919, which was no small undertaking to get a car up that mountain in 1919. Great image. Here are the Martins in front of their home in 1910. This is the one that's on the cover of the book. And again, I explained that, the person who gave it to me thought they were probably heading to a funeral. Here's the Harris home place in 2007. Of course, before it was raised for the highway widening project. Becky.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, because it was actually taken down in 2005. '83, so that picture's gotta be a little bit before that.
Oh, okay.
Because my husband built the house that was a replica of it,
Yeah.
and he finished it, and we lived his parents in 2002, in April, and he had a heart attack and passed the end of, April of
Gotcha.
2002. But his father lived to 10 more years, and his mother lived 20 more years.
Oh, wow.
In the new home that's a replica.
Well, then this would have been 2003, because the person who gave me this picture said he took it a month before it was raised.
Okay, yeah, and
So,
my boys came back out,
Okay.
even from my church, and Bedford came out and helped my boys, because Mars actually sleepy,
Yeah.
he said, well, let's just go on and bulldoze it down, and they said, no, Daddy wanted to take it down board by board, so we're taking it down board by board.
Wow.
And they have a lot of the boards still up at the
Do
barn,
they?
but the
Yeah.
barn is about ready to fall down, but my
Yeah.
youngest son still owns that home.
okay.
We still go to the new home that's the replica. I've been going out there for 50 years now for Christmas morning.
Cool.
And then but you can't see it that much, it's grown up, you
Yeah,
can't see
yeah.
the new home.
Neat. L.B. Reed at his store at Bent Mountain in the 1950s. Bent Mountain School Group in the 1920s. Roland Ferguson and his family at their home place. Here's the old Bent Mountain School in the 1980s, and I think somebody said that maybe this was taken a little bit before it was taken down, or they were doing something to it or something. And obviously they're doing some work. Allen Stone's Union 76 station up on the mountain here in 1978. All right. Look, this book is high class, ladies and gentlemen. You put groups like this in that book. This is high class. This is high class. You know, Hidden Valley and Hunting Hills have a country club, but Bent Mountain has a hunt club. And so here they are in the 1950s.
You know, interesting enough about that, there were no deer here. They bought land in, near Suffolk.
Okay.
They go deer hunting.
Interesting.
Yeah, not like that now.
No, they would have a good time now. King Brothers Sawmill on Bent Mountain in 1910. Here's the old Starkey Depot. In 1915, the interesting thing about Starkey Depot, the fruit growers, the orchardists, got together with business interests in Roanoke, and there was a plan, this is in the book as well, there was a planned railroad to go from Roanoke to Floyd. It was called Jacksonville at that time. Because the orchardists were having to bring all of their produce that they wanted it shipped by rail, they had to get it to Roanoke. And that was no small undertaking, as one can imagine. And so stock was sold for the Roanoke-Jacksonville Railroad, and a lot of meetings and a lot of promotion of it. But when the railroad decided to put a depot at Starkey, that met the need. And so the railroad from Roanoke to Floyd went away. And I think Floyd County is one of the few, or maybe it's the only county in Virginia that does not have a railroad. No railroad track in all of Floyd County. Anyway. I don't know if any of y'all remember the Laurel Ridge Swimming Pool, Bottom Creek, 1940s. It looks like the young man in the middle is proposing marriage to the woman in the middle, but I don't know that that's what's happening. But anyway, it's what it looks like.
Very cold water.
Very cold water, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, so the Creek water, and so one of the vacation cabins there that was a part of that scene. Dr. Joseph Gale was, Dr. Tinsley was here on Bent Mountain. Dr. Gale was in Cave Spring, and here is his home and what would have been his medical office as well in the Cave Spring area in 1890. That home is still standing, by the way. It's a beautiful, beautiful home in the Cave Spring area. Here's just a picture of my grandfather and uncle cutting hay in 1945. Latter-day Saints, Church of Jesus Christ, 1910. And is that the chapel, the same chapel that we looked at a little while ago, Jenny?
It's a different one.
Different one?
A
later one. Again, love images like this. Some members of the Connor family picking apples in the Thompson orchard in 58. Fennell's pool. Any of y'all swimming at? Yeah, I did as well. You went in feeling good, you came out with blue lips and sore feet. And there's Bud Fennell and B.G. Fennell in front of his store there in the 1940s. Tim Hash provided this photo. This is actually the original Ryerson store in 1924, which actually sat where Back Creek Elementary School does today. And so Tim told me, he said that when the county bought that land from the Ryersons to build the school there, then they built the Ryerson store that most of us remember, you know, on down 221. And but he said the original store was where Back Creek Elementary School sits today. And he said, of course, the road went along the creek. And so the road followed the creek. And so the road went behind where Back Creek Elementary School is today. And so the store was then on the road. He also provided me this, a little flyer from a music festival in 1937, Back Creek Social Service Club, and notice that they're having it at the new Back Creek High School. Here's Roanoke Lookout Gift Shop and Cabins in the 60s. There's a better image of the Lookout Gift Shop at the crest of Bent Mountain. Hay wagon on Bent Mountain in 1910. Woodrum Orchard, 1943. I don't know if those guys are rested because it's the end of the day or they're just not looking forward to the start of the day. I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, there's apples in one there.
Yeah, apple, so they did something
And they should be,
that hopefully is the end of the day.
yeah.
Here's the Pogues Mill baseball team in 1908. Heading the barrels at the Ferguson Orchard in 1905. Mount Union Church of the Brethren in 41. Along Tinsley Lane in the 1940s. Somebody told me that you all figured out who the couple was in here, at least one of them. Is that right, Dana?
We think it's Sudi.
You think it's Sudi Angle?
Sudi
Okay.
Angle.
Because at the time, we couldn't figure it out, and, okay. Grisso Gate School, which was kind of between Cave Spring and Pogues Mill in the 1920s. The building, the school building is still standing today. That's what it looks like. Obviously, it's just a barn type thing. Cave Spring High School under construction. So, I'll end here that during this project we had 87 individuals participate by sharing information or images for the book. So if you've got the book, it's the product of 87 people. Over 380 images were actually scanned for the project. 102 were used in the book. And as you all, many of you know, if you go on the Virginia Room, the digital site, all images I donated to the Virginia Room, the public library, Roanoke Public Library, so you can access all 380 of them. So we wanted to do that so that any future historians or preservationists or whoever would be able to access what people had so generously and graciously shared with us. All right. So that was kind of a little visual image, little trip down memory lane for the history of this section. And would just say again, it was just an absolute honor and privilege to come and to do this with you this afternoon. I do have a little special presentation I want to make before we adjourn to the history room. And that is that, you know, to make things happen, things just don't happen. People make them happen. People make them happen. And the Bent Mountain History Room here at the Bent Mountain Center and Dana DeWitt are being honored Wednesday night by the Roanoke Valley Preservation Foundation for a Kegley Award, which is an award that is presented to organizations, individuals that have done something significant in preserving and protecting the history of the Roanoke Valley. And so Dana will be honored along with the Bent Mountain Center this Wednesday night at their awards program. And so, yeah. Kudos to everybody that helped and has been a part of that. I'm sure Dana would say that. Lots of folks, just like this book that I did, lots of help, lots of folks participated. Anyway, since the Back Creek book, I've done 2 other books. One is called the Roanoke Valley in the 1940s, and it's like 600 pages. And one is called the Roanoke Valley in the 1950s. It's like about 600 pages. Each book has about 300 images in it, and I'm working on Roanoke Valley in the 1960s, but that one's not ready yet. Anyway, as a personal gesture of appreciation, I wanted to present these copies to Dana from me for you, for all of your work, and thank you for everything you've done to spearhead what we're going to cut the ribbon on today. I'm not here to sell books, but I will tell you I do have them, and this will be the deal. If you buy a book, they're $30 each. If you buy a book, all $30 of your purchase, we will contribute here to the Bent Mountain Center for use for the history room or whatever purposes you all would think appropriate. So you get a good book and help out the Bent Mountain Center as well. And Kathy and I like coming up here to the activities, so happy to do that. So Dana, you come forward, let me present you these 2 books, and then you can direct things from here. And thank you all. I appreciate it.
Wow. Thank you so much. Have a long time. Maybe we'll get have.
Roanoke Valley, you talking about the valley area, include this area?
Yeah, he asked Roanoke Valley. So Roanoke Valley would be Roanoke City, Roanoke County, Benton, Salem, everything in that footprint. Yeah.
And I don't know what we're going to do now. I don't think we'll have a reader like go in. And Nancy, how do we want to do this?
Would you like to lead the way?
Well, I will tell you that we started to overflowing back into the coffee shop where we have the Pope's meal picture, and we have several newspaper clippings like about the pantry and about the Woodrum's house over here. So it'll be on both sides of the hall back here, but we'll cut the ribbon and go in then. And
Yeah, I mean, I think we could let Dana lead the way to her beautiful room, and for all of us.
it's ours.
So, we do so appreciate what you've done. But yes, you can lead the way, everything, and people, we can crowd down there and do the celebration, and then you're free to browse. And then please come back for snacks, cookies, whatever you need, more coffee and everything. But thank you, Nelson. Where'd you go? Anyway, there you are. Thank you, Nelson. Piper.
Okay.
Dana, which way we
Just
headed?
like
Which
kindergarten, that's what I taught kindergarten. Follow behind me.
We're heading out this door here.
You want to grab Nelson so we can? Yes. I would like Nelson.
Do it again.
All right. I'm gonna get the bottom one, Dan.
Okay.
There we go. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, neat.
That is Carson King, that's his dad, and uncle to uncles. That was really cool. Most of these are sitting, I do need to, this is the.
Yeah.
This is, like that, it's all studs. They put all the pieces together to find it.